And welcome in, and no one can see us.
We're invisible. This is a ghost show.
Oh, I know what I have to do. There we go. We learn all kinds of things here. RFK Refugees Podcast, Ted here. John here. John,
You'll notice the video, right? So granted, you couldn't see our video, like what we look like, but you did see a cool video with sound included and our name. So
yeah.
We're column A, column B.
We're trying new things. Producer Brian has been working overtime to make this show as good as it can possibly be, and to do everything. So welcome guys to our second live pregame show. Washington Spirit, North Carolina Courage, the nightcap tonight in the NWSL Challenge Cup, and we're going to talk about the game. The game's coming up, and it's going to be a tough game. Short rest for both teams, so both teams have made changes to the lineup. We'll get into that. John, how you doing, my friend? I know it's been ages since I've talked to you.
I know. We're getting close now. We're moving into like besties territory. How many podcasts we're doing and talking to each other. So I'm doing good. You should know how I'm doing because we talk all the time now.
Yeah, I know. Our wives are going to get jealous. True. I think soon. I think that's the next step.
It's true.
That's the next step. That's the next step for that. But we got soccer to talk about. Washington Spirit game 2 for the Spirit. They after their 2-1 victory. I got to admit, I'm feeling. I was feeling very positive, I guess, after that Red Stars game. And then now it's kind of like, you kind of think, well, maybe we can take them. Then I see Roosevelt's not on the field, and I'm kind of like, okay. I see Debinha's out there for the Courage. I'm nervous, man. I'm admittedly nervous about this game coming up. It could go one of two ways. I think it's either a close game, both teams kind of trading jabs, or it's an absolute blowout for the Courage. I don't see it going any other way.
Well, to make you feel a little bit better, Roosevelt is actually starting.
Oh, she is. Okay, maybe I missed that. Sorry.
So that will make you feel better. Now everything is different. Forget everything Ted just said.
Everything. Forget it.
It's now fine. So yeah, I mean, there has been a little bit of change, and I think we knew that there'd have to be. But not as much as you'd think, really. Ted and I were just talking before we went live, and North Carolina is obviously the big dog here, right? And I know that when no comparison to real sports, but when I coached a men's baseball team and we knew we were playing the good team, we knew we were probably going to lose, so we didn't throw out our best pitchers. Like, let's just get through this and get to the next game. So they're not doing that. They're gripping and ripping here. Do we have the lineup up by any chance?
We can get the lineup up. Ted is prepared. I hope you all can see it. I try my best. This is
yep, you can see it. Excellent job. All right, let's get through this lineup. So from Saturday, there are 3 changes. That's it. Otherwise, we are rocking the Chicago Red Stars beating side against North Carolina. Remains to be seen yet what this lineup actually looks like on the field as far as formation. The defense being the same bodes well. I think that there was I don't know if you happened to listen to the Spirit podcast this week. They sort of talked about this was an opportunity for them, but Catch the Spirit is the name of that podcast. I recommend you subscribe. They were talking about the fact that this group of 4 has rarely had a chance to play together because of McGrady's injuries last year. And now they're finally all on the field, and they feel like they have a really good communication, a really good organization. Now, the game against Chicago, there were moments where that did not appear to be true, but I think that's a lot of that's just knocking rust off. So they're going to have a real big test tonight, particularly with North Carolina's fullbacks that like to get forward. They're going to have a lot of people to cover. They're going to have a lot of angles to manage. So this is going to be definitely an interesting game.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I miss Roosevelt is because she's out on the right, or at least that's what she's pictured. I'll be curious to see if she's out there during the game. So I kind of my eyes just went to the center. I'm like, who's in the center? And I didn't see Rose there. So that you can excuse me for making that mistake.
You're always excused.
Yeah, for that mistake. I'll be interested in, I guess, seeing. I mean, they're missing 3 players, but they're still missing 3 players. DiBiase was excellent, I thought. She maybe didn't get as much mention as she should have for her play in that Red Stars game. She was excellent. So I'll be curious to see. It seems like this team is very much going to rely on Rose Lavelle. If Rose Lavelle shows up and plays, has a game like she had against the Red Stars, then I think we're in good hands. And maybe it's an easy thing to say.
Right. As long as your best player does well.
As long as your best player does well, you'll be good. But I mean that best players show up and that's what happens. Sure. I mean, but I just think this game they're going to be probably maybe more reliant on her than they were last game. Last time you had Yokoyama, you had Ashley Sanchez, who was sort of the young star out there. Those two are gone right now. And yes, Yokoyama didn't have a good game, but she's still a really good player. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. The ball's going to be at Lavelle's feet a lot, and does maybe the Courage look at this and say, okay, the one thing we have to do is shut down Rose Lavelle. If they shut down Rose Lavelle, then we're going to have an easy time of this. So, and then the question is, of course, who steps up, who maybe makes a play for future time and future starting positions.
I like the players off the bench. I like having Sanchez and Yokoyama off the bench to sort of get back in this game if we go behind, which with our opponent is entirely a possible outcome.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. It's such a departure from DC United. When you look at the bench for DC United in so many games, you look there like there are no dangerous threats on this bench. If I'm the other team's coach, I'm like, go ahead, make all your subs. It doesn't matter. Go ahead, make my day. But in this case, we've got some players that will probably change the calculus depending on how the game goes. Do we have the ability to put up North Carolina's lineup?
If you give me some few minutes, I might be able to.
Sure, yeah, I can tread water for a little bit. So, so the lineup is what the lineup is here. I think the defense, as far as load management too, we should look at that too. Lavelle played about 65 minutes on Saturday. I would anticipate about another 65 minutes tonight. They've got to protect her, particularly with her injury history. Once again, so we're allotted a lot more subs than usual. It's 5 subs, right?
5 subs, yes.
5
correct.
subs, so that not counting the goalie, we've got 5 players that have to make it the whole night through. So that you would probably assume a player, probably our center backs. Hatch did not finish the game last week. I'm trying to remember now. I think Sullivan did, and McGrady went out injured. She's okay now, which is good. I know that there's some left back depth. There was an injury earlier in the week to her. I think Hellstrom plays left back. Please correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's listening. So it's good that she was able to be out there, particularly after all the games she missed last year. Recommend too. We may have one of their hosts on here in a little bit, but recommend the Tegan McGrady interview on Plex Weather if you haven't had a chance to listen to it. Really interesting look at sort of what the mentality is of a player who suffers a major injury in her rookie year. Particularly, I think rookies are young, right? Then she's away from home for the first time. She's away from her family for the first time, and she's sidelined for a long period of time and had to figure out how to get back. And she came back in the second to last game of the year when coaches and other folks were saying just bag it for the year and come back next year. And she was pretty adamant that was not gonna happen. So let's look at the North Carolina lineup brought to you by Bojangles. That is the most North Carolina thing ever, and I love it so much. I still want us to win, but now that made me feel a little bit of sympathy for their team. So if you look at the team, there are quite a few changes from last week. I think actually more even than ours. The ones to look at: Muse, Dahlkemper, and Dunn and Mace, all on the bench, all started last week. I think there's probably even more. That is still a team that can smack you around. This team is very deep. Almost unfairly deep for a league like this, but this is the situation they find themselves in. Daniels, left back, sort of talked about as the best left back in the world in the women's game. This is going to be an offensive track meet. I think that they've got to handle, and if they can handle that early and sort of keep the game. Do what they couldn't do last week, which is slow down the other team's attack and then put some resistance up in the midfield so the ball wasn't just rolling back and forth at warp speed. And you can find out where you're at in the game and what your actual, what your attack's going to look like.
So I kind of look at this. You have sort of two teams with two heavyweights. The Courage have Dabinia and Lynn Williams up sort of as their two offensive threats. You know, the Spirit have Rose Lavelle and Ashley Hatch. I think each team is going to have a game plan to shut down each of those two attackers and rely on other players to sort of get the space. And it's going to be a matter of if both those players can get opportunities and get chances, then you know we could be in for an exciting night. If one team manages to shut the other down and the other team fails, the team that fails to do so is probably the one that's going to suffer tonight. So those are the kind of things I'm going to be watching, I think, in this game tonight. You know, what is the defensive game plan for stopping these two really, really talented attacking players for both the Spirit and for the North Carolina Courage?
I've also been educated in our YouTube chat that Dorian Bailey can play left back. So therefore, we have more cover there than we thought, which is exactly what I was hoping to get out of our YouTube commenters.
Whoa! What is this Washington team having coverage at left back?
What's that? No, I don't.
No. See, Richie Burke needs to learn. You take your wingers and you play them. You play them as your left and right back depth. That's just how it is.
Listen, we don't have to. The good thing is we don't have to think about that too much because of a certain injury. We don't have to relitigate that madness. But yeah, I think we're in a. This is going to be a good game. Now, if you've been watching the other games like I have, not all of these games have been good. The last two games that have been played were both 0-0 draws. Today was Portland and Chicago, I believe, and then last night was OL Reign and doesn't matter. Another team.
OL and Sky Blue.
Yeah. Zip. And this is unlikely to be 0-0. I would put my DraftKings wager stone cold lock on that.
Well, that game was bad. I did watch sort of, you know, during my lunch break at work, watch a little bit and kind of had the North Carolina, I think it was the Portland Thorns versus Houston, I want to say. Is that right? Did I get that right?
The 3-3 game?
No. That was the game that was this. I forget the game that was today. I know it was Portland was in it. I'm trying to remember who else was in it. Maybe it was Utah. It was Utah, I think. That game, while not a score fest, you know, 0-0 draw, that ball seemed to be almost possessed. Oh, sorry, it was Portland and Chicago. My apologies. Portland and Chicago. That ball seemed almost kind of possessed to do everything possible that it could to stay out of the goal. That was a game where I think if there's a goal earlier, you're in for a little bit more of a treat. But I will agree with you. The Reign Sky Blue game was not the most exciting soccer in the world, and I'll be curious. To see what sort of happens. I'll be curious to sort of see what kind of happens as far as, you know, are the legs going to be heavy for both teams? The Spirit aren't making many changes. The Courage are. What is that going to end up being? Something that's going to bite Richie Burke, because legs get heavy when they haven't had a whole preseason.
Yeah, that has to account for some of these dire games, right?
Yeah.
Just 2 or 3 day turnaround, not wholesale changes on some of these teams. So, yeah, I think, you know, I still feel like we're going to get good quality here. I think we're going to get an exciting game, particularly after the last two. But we could be biased. It's possible.
Yes.
Be wrong. Some random news and notes. This is not really news and notes, but I just noticed it today and tweeted about it, and people cared about it. If you want to buy a jersey, they're available again. So if you're a man and you were not a size small or medium, and you were saying, "Why is there no jerseys for me?" Now there are. Forewarning, you will not get them in time for the tournament unless the Spirit go all the way to the end, because in what it has to be the most annoying process for an equipment or like a team store person in the universe, they get blank jerseys from Nike and have to put every single sponsor logo, name, patch, everything. They have to screen print all those things for each jersey that gets ordered. So maybe that accounted for a little bit of the sadness in the voice of the Rockville soccer employee when I told them what I wanted, instead of just be like, yeah, just send me whatever. It's fine. No problem. So we'll get it when I get it. But if you are interested in that, go to rockvillesoccer.com, I think is where I really hope, you know, I don't think it really matters. It would be cool if the Spirit could run their own team store and have like employees that work for the team that I can talk to about things. And then other bits of news and notes. Go ahead.
I know I have my wife got a Crystal Dunn jersey when we went up for the game. It was a while. It's been a while now. It's been because Crystal Dunn hasn't played for the Spirit for a long time. I'm going to be really sad watching this game because Crystal Dunn. I'm glad she's not starting because she has been one of my favorite players to watch, and I am unapologetically a huge Crystal Dunn fan, especially with that season she had at the Spirit during the 2015 World Cup. Just absolutely incredible to watch her play. So I am going to be maybe silently rooting for Crystal Dunn a little bit because I think she's such a fantastic player. And you get to see her play striker because she plays right back for the U.S. women's national team, and she has scored. Like, she's probably like the only Golden Boot winner in any league to then just play right back for like their national team. I can't think of another like situation in which that happens. And she's also really good at right back too, which is crazy.
Isn't that what Midge Purse did? Played forward last year and now is playing right back, I think, for Sky Blue. There's a bit of an epidemic of putting talented forwards into defensive positions.
It's like the MLS syndrome of playing right midfielders as right backs eventually. Like they just slowly move to right back. DeMarcus
So Ben
Beasley,
Olsen needs to go to NWSL and turn some of these players into Andy Nahars is what I think
Exactly.
Other bit of news, if you were a longtime listener, watcher of our show, you'll know that we had Ryan Martin on Monday, the coach of Loudoun United. As promised, teased in the episode, Luciano Emilio will be on the Ryan's Reboot or Ryan's Restart. It's an Instagram show on the Loudoun United account. So if you remember the old days of BobbyBoswell.com and singing James Blunt, I would recommend checking that out. That's a free plug for you, Ryan. I think that mostly because I'm going to watch it, so I feel like everybody else should watch it too.
Definitely. And if you have never met Luciano Emilio, he like ran a youth. He runs a youth soccer camp. I remember seeing him like walking around RFK, and you just walk up and say hi to him, and I think he's like just so happy that people know who he is and people still remember him. It's one of the
which is crazy because he won the MVP one year.
Yeah.
He scored over 20 goals. Yeah. Who's gonna forget him? Yeah. And his personality. The way I think I mentioned it on the episode. Like he was a guy that when he played in the Old Timers game, like he was real trying. Like he was real going at it. And Freddie Adu was playing. He was like 27. He was not trying. He was not going for it. I'm also a huge fan of all Old Timers games. What's your position on watching old former amazing players play? Is it sad to see Echeverry be kind of fat and slow? Yeah, but can he still do crazy stuff with the ball? Yeah, he can. He just has to do it slower, which is something all older people can appreciate.
Yeah, I never really got like I didn't go to the RFK the RFK Legends game. I don't know that stuff didn't appeal to me.
Okay, so we're opposite camps on this.
Yeah,
we are. I'm a huge fan of it. A little news nugget here as far as how good North Carolina has been. The Spirit won the last time they played, but North Carolina has won every other game they've played in since August of 24 last year, including an 8-1 total scoreline in the playoff games last year. They've been shut out 2 times in the last 100 weeks, and one of those was facing Olympic Lyon. So those stats come to you courtesy of Black and Red United. But so suffice it to say, they're good. They're very, very good. And if we beat them, we have done it before, but few other teams have. And also, if we shut them out, which again, I would not put money on if you're on DraftKings. There are some states, by the way, doing NWSL gambling. I think there's like 4 states doing it. So if you're watching and you live in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, or 2 other states, you should put some money on the over on the goals on this game. I think that's my my other tip.
When is Virginia going to get this type of stuff?
Well,
I mean, I don't mind driving to West Virginia. I don't mind like to bet. I will drive to West Virginia to bet on NWSL and MLS. So
theoretically, it's legal as July. Well, no, I don't think online sports gambling is, but like other casinos now are legal as of July 1.
Give me some.
It's the same day they legalized marijuana and a bunch of other things, or decriminalized marijuana.
Give me some legalized sports gambling so I can bet on the sports I care about, like
that you know about, like you feel like you're actually sort of in the I mean, I've bet on DC United now to win MLS Cup, I think 2 years in a row, and I don't know if you follow MLS listeners, but that was not that bet did not pay.
See, but that's when sports gambling does become legal, I'm going to do $10 bets on each of my teams, regardless of the odds. And I'll just and then you win big, you lose, and then you get to celebrate.
You don't win big on $10, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I think DC was $1,000 I could have won when I put $10 on them back before they got Wayne Rooney. It would have been crazy if they'd won it. It was $1,000. I mean, that's not nothing. I mean, that's not.
Listen, I wasn't saying $1,000 was nothing. I was just saying that general. You gotta spend money to make money. Unfortunately, particularly with favorites. But the good thing about us is we don't like teams that are favorites.
Yes.
In general, the podcast that we do does not cover teams that are considered favorites for things. MLS is coming soon. We're getting pretty excited about that. Starting up, I believe, is it next Friday? I believe it's next Friday. Yeah. At least that's the first DC United game.
The first DC United game is next Friday. The games start on the 8th. Actually, I saw them on my schedule and I got all excited because I hit the record button. I think I actually highlighted MLS soccer and now I'm recording everything. Wednesday the 8th are the first games. There's the 8 p.m. game between Orlando and Inter Miami. A bit of a caveat to that. Apparently 6 FC Dallas players have now tested positive while in the bubble. In Orlando.
That's the real thing right there. The fact that these were not, because originally when that news came out, I think it was. Could you guess who had that news first? Actually, no, never mind. I was going to say it was The Athletic. It wasn't. It was Third Degree, whatever the FC Dallas blog that's been in place for a million billion years had the news first that there were all those players that had tested positive were actually from FC Dallas.
Yeah.
Not good news.
Yes, since arriving,
as we said on Monday, though, ain't no stopping this train.
Yeah, I mean, once you have players there, I mean, once the first team arrives, it's happening. Now you might have a team pull out. I don't know. This is happening. It does speak something. It does speak to something that, and I know Orlando's a hotbed right now, and I don't know if that's playing a role into it and everything like that. NWSL, I mean, maybe I missed it, but I don't think, have we seen any positive cases, or certainly not to the extent we're seeing right now.
Where is this?
What's that?
Where are you asking if we've seen?
It's in the NWSL Challenge Cup in Utah right now. So
no, but I don't know what their disclosure requirements are.
Fair.
So I think we would have heard of it already by now, but maybe not. Depends on how that goes. I think that there are less teams, less players. They're all in one hotel, on different floors of one hotel, I believe, which is the benefit of having a 9-team league, 8 teams that attended. You can actually all fit them all in one medium-sized hotel. Yeah, I think that there's, other than the injury, there's only been one major injury that's happened so far. The tournament's still young. We still have more than half of the group stage to play. But overall, I think also too, we didn't mention this because I think we didn't have this information after our first pregame show, but they blew up their viewership records for the first game. I think there were 500,000 people that watched, 450 or 500,000. I have the numbers in front of me on the CBS game. The first game of the year.
Yeah.
I think that's a 300 or 400% increase. It helps that they're on CBS and not Lifetime or whatever else they've been on, Go 90, or I don't know what other channels they've been on in the past. But that's certainly part of it, and gives them, I think, some solid encouragement that more exposure means more eyeballs. Granted, you have to throw the giant disclaimer that there are very few other sports going on right now. At least in the United States, there are none. There's that, but overall, I think there's something that's really instructive here, is that if you put them on a market where people can watch it, that's great, and people will watch it. I think there are a lot of complaints still about CBS All Access to that.
I had some glitches. I had some glitches today trying to watch the game. I think the stream took a while to get going. It seemed like there were some dropouts. I was having some connection issues. It seemed like that was happening kind of across the board.
I think more the complaints are that people have to pay money at all to watch it. Yeah. I think there's a lot of that. People are maybe not used to that, or maybe that they're thinking they're already paying too many things, and I get that. But this is a perfect opportunity to show the league and to show CBS that you care about this, and that's why you are paying money. All the sponsors. I think the good thing about a league that is the size of NWSL, vocal comments about what's motivating you to watch are going to get heard by those brands more so than if like it was MLB and they were just getting spammed with stuff on Twitter all the time. I think there's really some this is an opportunity to like really let people know, let companies know that you really appreciate their financial support of the sport that you like. So yeah, pay for CBS All Access if you're not. I think it's free, actually. I think there's like a 14-day free trial.
Yeah,
you can watch Criminal Minds or something. Well, there's other shows. There's other shows that I wouldn't watch, but people watch them. There's things to watch.
There's a 1 week free trial. They did have a month free trial. I missed out on that, but I'm not sweating $6 to watch this tournament. And I mean, that's the reason I look at it. I think a lot of people have these sort of over the top services do get a lot of bad rep, and it makes sense. I understand paying extra. It'd be great if it was, but I would rather it be on this network that's $6 than, let's say, CBS puts it on CBS Sports Network, which I don't get, and I have to pay an extra $20 a month to my cable subscriber to get a bunch of other channels, I don't want. I'm glad that, networks are kind of taking these over the top services and they're selling them for a genuinely reasonable price. $6 to $7 a month is not that much. I understand people have expenses. If $6 to $7 is breaking you, you're either in college or you have very serious financial issues that are maybe stretching beyond what $6 $7 would be. And so I mean, as long as it's reasonable, as long as it's worth it, then I don't usually have a problem with this. And
if it's that bad, just DM me and I'll give you my credentials for CBS All. Seriously, yeah. If it is that bad,
and that's the thing too. You can split it with somebody.
I think there's at least 3. I know that I'm signed in right now on 3 different TVs in my house. So
yeah, I
think that tells you a little something about. Normally, the ones that are really really hardcore about it won't even let you do that in your own house.
So I think there's like the Flow Sports level of like bad, like over the top service that like when you're at the Flow Sports level, and just being above that can sometimes be better. I know that's maybe not a good thing. Not like there's a very, very, very deep pit for Flow Sports, and I understand this, but I mean, not every over the top service has to be like Flow Sports. ESPN Plus is fantastic. You can watch a whole bunch of games. CBS All Access, if they keep that price the same for the NWSL, great. That's fantastic too. And and I even NBC Sports, I think they charge like $50 for the whole season to watch all the Premier League games. Even that's not a bad deal. So that's the way I kind of look at it. Is with over the top, number one, it needs to be reliable. No red screen of death with 2 announcers having no clue what the heck is going on.
Yeah, that's not a good
thing. and make it reasonably priced. Make it within reason for me to buy it, where it's not a huge expense for me to go and do it. And I think if you can check those 2 boxes, you have something. And right now, CBS All Access has that. I don't know if I'm going to keep it past this Challenge Cup. I might wait until the NWSL season comes back and then purchase it again. But that I have within the ability to do that. And if that's what you want to do, then it costs you what, like $6, $7, so what, $40, $50, and you get, more soccer content for the whole year. Hey, that's fine. That's worth it to me.
So, we talked a little bit about it, I think on the Monday show. Yeah, on the Monday show. Do we think that Neil/Stangate will go the entire duration of the NWSL Challenge? Do we think that there will be coverage and consternation about it all the way up to the final? Or do you think something will happen between now and then that changes the conversation?
I just think at a certain point, it's just there's not going to be much else to really say about it. I think Rachel Hill came out, talked about, the reason she's standing is because, she comes from a military family, that's very important. I'm not gonna. There is an opinion for me that says that okay, but it has the things of what are you really maybe trying to say there? But I'm not going to sit there and say that I'm not going to say she gave her support for the Black Lives Matter movement. She was very firmly for that, and so I have no choice but to believe her in that, and that there isn't something underneath that's about that. I just don't. I think it's going to get less and less because of how our news cycle is. It's not going to be a story every time someone's standing. There's not going to be a new player. I think it's almost at the point where it's a little bit played out at this point, and maybe that shows the NWSL. Maybe they just said, "Well, let's just deal with the news stories." I think they're wrong. I think they should have said, "We're not doing," because then we could have been talking about the soccer. We could have been talking about the shows in Union.
Since that changed, there hasn't been a lot of good soccer to talk about.
Yeah, fair. Well, that's the problem. They missed, and that's even more interesting because they missed their window. I mean, there was great soccer on, and all anybody really, ESPN, all they're talking about is, they're talking about the kneeling. I'd be curious. Maybe I need to. I should have recorded like Sports Center because I would have been curious. Well, how are they showing highlights? Are they doing this?
Let us know if you're watching in the comments if they are actually showing anything anywhere that isn't just the sort of kneeling angle that is being pushed around. I think that you're right. I think we're getting towards the end of it. Like I watched the game today, and there were some people standing. Less conversation about it on Twitter, and I want some good games, and I want some playing storylines that run and get the coverage, because honestly, what's going to grow the fan base and what's going to continue to carry on momentum from this year on to next is really good soccer. It will not be whatever other elements of it that occurred at this challenge. That won't be what brings people back, I don't think. Maybe I could be wrong. Yeah. There could be people that come to this league solely because of these demonstrations, but maybe not. Richie Burke, I was watching his interview on the Washington Spirit Twitch channel ahead of time, and he was basically saying like his perspective on it is, and this is probably pretty common, is that like I will support these players to the end of whatever they want to do, and I will I kneeled. I didn't understand this stuff ahead of time. I'm not from this country. He had a lot of reasons for like why he had to hear and listen and learn before he. Wow, I forgot it's 10:00. Anyway,
yes.
Go watch the game. Basically, Richie said, "Do what you want, but we're here to play soccer first and foremost, and my job is to get people ready to play soccer." So, we are a minute over. Go watch the soccer game. Stop listening to us, and
we'll catch
you. We'll see you next Monday.
See you next Monday. Vamos. Catch the Spirit. #CatchTheSpirit.